Well, thanks everybody for coming to our October meeting. We'd just like to welcome anybody who's new. Thank you for coming and joining us as well. Our meetings are recorded, so I just need to make you aware of that. We have quite a few members that live at a distance, so they have the capability later on to go back and they'll watch the recording. And then maybe there's something that you missed as well, and you can go back and watch the recording. It's just on our YouTube channel. It's free. It's open to anybody. So that's where we archive all our meetings. We are a branch of the Ontario Genealogical Society. The OGS has been preserving family history for over 50 years, and there's over 30-some branches and special interest groups all across Ontario. This just came in today. I don't know if those who are members of OGS, there was a e-weekly or the e-news came in today, and there's a brand new website. So they've been working on this for a little while. They've had complaints about, you know, when you had to sign in to get into the members only, you had to go the members only and then this way and this way and this way. So they're trying to resolve all those issues, and they had worked on making it much more user friendly. So it has a fresh new look. So definitely take a look at it and snoop around, and they want some feedback too. If you see something not working, or you know, they just want to know what you think about it. So we are the Kent branch of the Ontario Genealogical Society. We focus on Kent County research and general family history. We do mentoring and connecting. We have a newsletter that we publish 3 times a year. We have monthly presentations like this, and we have a resource collection. And it's a really good resource collection. It's a gem. So a lot of the other branches don't have what we have. So it's been due to the dedication of the previous volunteers and branch members who built that collection. So it's in the 2nd floor of the Chatham Public Library. We're open Tuesday to Saturday, 1 to 5. If you need other hours than that, you can always make an appointment too, and depending on volunteer availability, we'll try to get somebody in there. But if you haven't had a chance to go up there and you have Kent County folks, or even, you know, other area folks who just want to talk general family history, come on up and visit us. We have a branch website as well. And we also have a Facebook group, which is very, very active. They're both open to the public, and anyone can join. And quite often people are getting, you know, sharing photos or asking questions, and somebody's helping them along the way. So just a little recap. In September, we had a family history fair, and we partnered with the Chatham Kent Public Library. And that was kind of the first time, or it's been a long time. I believe it was done in the past, but it's been a long time since it's been done. And we were crossing our fingers that if we have 50 folks come out, we're going to be excited. Colleen made 50 bags, and we had
71 bags.
150 to 200 people come to that thing. It was fantastic. The whole library was set up in the cafe. There were exhibitors from different groups in the community. As far away as Essex was there, Lambton. The Kingsville United Empire Loyalists, there was 13, I think, exhibitors that came. The children's room, they had activities set up for the children to do. We had workshops going on throughout the day. We had tours. At the end of the day, there was a draws for family tree program, which was a big hit. Also a DNA kit, and then the library also donated some nice goodie bags. So it was a huge success. The library was overjoyed with it. So maybe we'll do it again in the future. And we'd like to thank all the volunteers that helped that day, because without the volunteers, we wouldn't have been able to pull it off. So thank you so much. So some of the upcoming events that are happening in Kent County, the Kent Historical Society, I'm sorry, I don't want to give you guys away. October the 17th, they're heading into Thamesville. October the 14th, 20th, and 21st, there's cemetery strolls going on. At that time of year again, and I heard they're really, really good. I haven't had a chance to partake myself, and I want to, but I've heard they're really good. So what better way of getting into the October Halloweeny spirit? And the phone number's there if you want to contact them to get tickets, and need tickets in advance. And then our next presentation in November is November the 10th. We're going to be talking about researching and deciphering those military records. As you can see, we have a couple folks that are retired from the military, and they're passionate about family history. So they are going to bring in some examples of the military, like attestation papers and things like that, and how to read all the squiggles and the circles and the squares and what it means, and maybe other places to research your military folk. And then after that, we have a break for the winter. So we don't have any meetings in December, January, or February. We meet back here March 2018. But during that time, the library stays open and work continues on all the projects that we're doing. So we're looking for lots of people that are interested in coming up there and helping still.
Cindy, we're
Yes.
going to be closed between Christmas and New Year's, though.
Do you have the exact dates, Judy?
We're open to the 22nd of December, then we close the week of Christmas.
Okay, so 23rd till,
Till January, the start of January 2nd or 3rd when the library opens.
okay, so we're going to be closed that week between Christmas and New Year, basically. So speaking of projects, we've had, with the reorganization of the library, we've started to pull together some really great resources. One of them was a collection of school information, Kent County schools. So there was photos, there's some information, some history, and that's one project that we'd like to grow. So, and also the church record collection. We can always grow the church collection. Like there's a great collection there now. There was a lady that came in the other day and she had a photo of a church. I'm sorry, I can't remember what it was, but we didn't have it in our churches. So I asked her to make a photocopy of it, so we added it too. So if everybody can just keep their eyes and ears open, or bring in your own collection. Harold brought his photos, school photos that he had, and we scanned them the other day. So he's given us permission, and now we've added to the collection. They'll go in the binder, and also we're doing a digital version of it too. So keep an eye out in the bookstores. On Facebook, somebody is always posting school pictures or church pictures. So if you can either contact the person that posted it and say who you are and who we are and what maybe we'd like to, if we could have a copy of it, and hopefully it has the names of the kids too. But there's, if everybody keeps their eyes and ears open for these kind of things, then we can grow that collection, because that's something particular to Kent County that we will have that nobody else will have. Okay. And like I said, I brought the school one here, so if you want to take a look at it afterwards and kind of get an idea for what we're looking for. So tonight's present, does anybody have any questions? Judy, I know you have the calendar with you, so if people want to, you know, pass it around or sign in. Does anybody have any questions about what's been going on or what's happening at the branch, or just anything to share before we start?
I'll just share that we are looking for a volunteer for tomorrow. So if you were feeling like you didn't have anything to do on Saturday afternoon, otherwise the library will be closed tomorrow because we don't have a volunteer.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything else? Has everybody had a chance to go up to the library and kind of see the new layout? You know, it's been a month, maybe, right? A month. So we've had some pretty good feedback. We've had a couple members that, one lives in California and another one I think was Guelph or something. They had been in and then they saw it on Facebook, but that didn't do justice. When they came in, it was like, wow, it looks really clean and really, you know, really good.
Joy
so they were
impressed.
quite. Pardon?
Joy was impressed. She was up for the first
Good.
time today.
Okay. Well, that's good. You hadn't seen it, Joy, until today, or just lately?
I can't hear.
Oh, the new layout of the library. You had a chance to see the layout?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, tonight's presentation, unfortunately, it looks like our second speaker, we had two speakers lined up. We were just trying to change it up a little bit so it wasn't just one person, you know, and try to give a little bit of variety. But we're talking about family connections. So we, Ed, he is fortunate enough, with it being the Canada's celebration of 150, he was fortunate enough a few years ago to attend a family reunion in New Brunswick. And I won't do the surprise, but he has a pretty substantial connection on the way back up. So I will get things set up for you, Ed.
Cindy says my name's Ed, but it's Ed Parr, and I'm connected to one of the fathers' Confederation. And on the tables, there's 3 or 4 half-dozen sheets of this with 3 names on it. These names have been traced back to early 1620s area, something like that. And on the tables, there's copies of my pedigree that came back from Hillsborough as of July 2016. Now, the top name with 2 F's shows up, and I'll call this early Germany. The spelling changes so often back in those days, they couldn't track people. The middle Steve is the name we're going to talk about tonight. They have found a marriage certificate in Muskegon, Germany, and I'll tell you that in a minute where Muskegon comes. And they were registered under the name of Steve 1F. Now that name would hold true until you get to somewhere around the 1800s. And they've modernized the name to Steeves with two E's. All right. If you only have one E, isn't that like an ownership? Anyway, that's what those sheets are there for. If anybody got any questions, write it down and maybe I'll get a chance to discuss it later. But that's who we're going to be talking about. You got the clicker, Cindy? All right. On the table, there is half a dozen of these copies of my pedigree that came back from Hillsborough. You send all the information in by internet, and it all comes back to you. And I have a pedigree proven back to the 1620s by Wes Bowser. His book is sitting here, and I'll show it to you in a minute. Anyway, somebody out there has another copy like mine. We missed the last name on the first printout. All right, so he's got a court record. The only record they could find of this man in this town where they went to is in court. All right, they charged him, pardon me, his occupation was cattle herder in today's German English. If you're a cattle herder there, you're a cowboy in the United States. Now, I don't know who rode the horse or whatnot. Anyway, when it came out of the printer, that name was cut in half, so we're not shortchanging you. Anyway, he was charged with sleeping on the job in a sunny afternoon. They hauled him into court, or charged him, pardon me. He did the disappearing act. He went down the river 50 miles, changed his name legally, married, raised a family and everything. When they changed his name, the court clerk put this name down of this town. He came from this town and changed his name. There's his name. There's how they found him. That's the only record in the whole town is his court record. Nothing else. So when it goes down through here, it changes down 3 more generations till you get to the end of the red dots and off center to you people. Heinrich and Regina, and if I call her Rachel, she was called Rachel for 200 years, so I still know her as Rachel. Anyway, you'll get down to there, and that's where my family history comes to. Heinrich and Regina are the grandparents of the father, William Henry Steeves of Confederation. All right? Now, we got to change this prospect and go around the other way. Way over here, which is to the left of the page, is my name. And up on the left-hand corner, I stand up. Right here. All right. Up here in the left-hand corner where you see my father's name, what I read ancestry.ca. So you know where this program is coming from. All right. When I send in all my information on registry and the email that, this is the pedigree they sent back to me. So back over in here, these are my distant relatives, way distant. This is 1718. All right, this is my family tree, and the red dots is the Steeves formation. All right, I told you about the cattle herder way up the right-hand corner. Where are we at now? Anyway. Oh, all right. Cindy's got the clicker here. These are the stones that are in Hillsborough Cemetery. I called back in August and asked them if they had pictures of the stones. My wife took these pictures. If you look at the stone, the gray stone at the back says Henry Steeves. He is buried behind these people. These stones have been not changed. Hillsborough told me they're going to change them shortly. On this it says 1765, first settler of Hillsborough, Wife Rachel of Heinrich. All right, there's that name Rachel again. So I'm going to tell you. First, my mother's name, pardon me, mother's name, maiden name was Dawson. And back in the 1800s, Thomas Dawson from Pennsylvania married Rachel Steeves from Hillsborough, New Brunswick. I'm not sure where she was born. They raised a family, and through the years, about 1850, filtered down to Wilkesport in Sombre Township. All right. We can't go that route because you'll never see the Father's Confederation. So you got to go back uphill and go down the other side to the people. Rachel Steeves, and you have to go back to the pedigree, is the daughter of son John of these people. All right, they had 7 sons, and Regina give each son a color, which I liken to the colors of the rainbow. Now, if you go to Google and ask for the colors of the rainbow, you'll come up with something like this. I got the other way around, it's the long form. And I put my colors on it and Cindy matched them to modern day colors. So, my ancestor is John. His daughter was Rachel and married Thomas Dawson. Rachel is first cousin to William Henry Steeves, 3rd son of the family of Jacob, and his color is green. These colors are going to show up quite a few times here tonight. So, anyway, Jacob is the oldest. Jacob, all right. Jacob was born about 2 weeks after Regina got off a sailing ship from Europe. They got off the sailing ship in Philadelphia Harbor, 1749. 2 weeks later, Jacob was born and baptized. So women and mothers, you know what kind of problems they went through in those days on the sailing ship. She had to be at least 8 months pregnant. All right. My family is under John. This is called red, and I have pink. Now, some of these pedigrees are on pink. I don't think that's what Rachel or Regina had as a color in modern day. That's all I could find in the stores when I wanted it. Anyway, Rachel Steeves is a third daughter of John, all right? William Henry Steeves is the 2nd son of Jacob. He's the oldest. 2nd, Frederick, no, pardon me. Jacob, John, Christian, Frederick, Henry, Ludwig, Matthias. All right, those are your names. All right. 1766, they landed in what is now Moncton, the city of Moncton. Where is that Canadian history? Maybe I told you. Anyway, that's 10 years after the Battle of the Plains of Abraham, give or take. It'll be 40 more years before Nelson defeated the British or the French fleet at Trafalgar. It'll be another. Your Confederation comes in there in 1867. You're 80 years before Mackenzie would climb the Rocky Mountains and find the Pacific Ocean. So there's where you are in Canadian history. Regina, all right. Westbowser has found their marriage certificate in this book somewhere about 1995. He produced this book. I have a tag in there that I have it on the computer up to 2006, and that's been changed. he found a marriage certificate for Heinrich and Regina in Muskegon, Germany. So if you ask Google Maps how this is going to work out, they give you Muskegon, but they don't give you any territory close, so you got to do a lot of scrolling. So way up at the top is Berlin, dropped off slightly to your right is Munich. Almost straight below Munich by maps is Bern, Switzerland. And of course, here's your Swiss border, and this is your French border. Muskegon is 25 kilometers from Stuttgart as a guess. I don't get an accurate measurement on it. So it's in the corner of that triangle. So if you connect Munich to Bern, Stuttgart, Muskegon is just off outside Stuttgart. 1765. 1749, he got off a sailing ship in Philadelphia Harbor. Regina was 8 months pregnant. All right. When they came ashore in Moncton, which is the city of Moncton today, 7 children, 7 sons, 7 colors. Now here where it gets confusing. 91 grandchildren, nearly 400 great-grandchildren. William Henry Steeves is the most famous. They probably. Has anybody heard of Hans Christian Andersen? Yep. He wrote children's stories. Has anybody heard of General Douglas MacArthur? In charge of all American forces in the fight against Japan? How about Bob Hope? How about Lloyd Bridges? Everybody's not their head, they're with it. How about Jack Layton? Leader of the opposition party against Stephen Harper? Died 6 or 7 months after being appointed that. Opening day ceremonies was ahead of me. His younger brother Phil, 8 or 10 rows. All right. This is the Steeves crest and the Steeves flag. Where are you, Cindy? Go ahead. Anyway, this is a picture of William Father Steeves, Father Confederation. Way back in 2015, I don't know why, but I cut this out of the Windsor paper. This is about John A. Mcdonald, first Prime Minister of Canada. It tells you about his birthplace in Glasgow, Scotland, and his episodes till he got in politics. Does anybody know that John A. Mcdonald was one of the stonemasons who built the Chatham jail down there in 7th Street? He was one of the stonemasons. Then he went into politics. Down on the bottom of this picture is the most famous picture of Steeves that you see. And there's copies of this around on the tables. If you look at it very carefully, there's red dots on it. John A. Mcdonald is sitting, all right, here. John A. Mcdonald is sitting on the steps in front of the Charlotte legislature. William Henry Steeves is to his left, and he's the first man past that window next to the wall. Okay? Go to the black monument. Excellent. When we had registration, or after registration, my wife, it's only a 5-minute walk from registration, which is the Legion, to the Steeves Museum. Now, Cindy has a picture here. I'm on the sidewalk. These are new since I was there in 1989. Here's your picture of your father's Confederation. Same as that magazine, or same as that newspaper. You can't see it here, but this is a modern day picture of William Henry Steeves. If you look at it very closely, they cut his sideburns off and trimmed his long hair. It's on that monument. Now this picture I got here will be on the table later. All right? This is on the front of the stone. On the back of the stone is William Henry's life, all right? He ran a ship brokerage firm. I got him down in mine as he ran a general merchant. You know, farm seeds, hinges for your doors, clothing, things like that. Elected to the Legislative Assembly. As I said before, he born, married, died, and is buried in Hillsborough. Elected to the Legislative Assembly, he went to be the father of the Confederation. After that, he was elected to the Senate, which he would be in about 12 more years before he died. Also, on a piece of paper here I got here, he was a Surveyor General for the whole province of New Brunswick. That's a big job. New Brunswick is a big province. Also, in this book I've discovered, William Henry Steeves' granddaughter married and became a duchess. She married the 16th Duke of Somerset of England, part of the royal family lineage. We can take it all and fold it all apart. That's what you don't know about it. Anyway, where are we sitting? You don't know. Anyway, this is a picture of me standing in front of the museum in 1989. And to my right, where you see this blue sign, or, well, to my left, sorry, there's a big monument there. It's a big bronze plaque. I have it here. You'll see these pictures. National Historical Board of Canada. All right? I don't see it. It is all written in English and French. To the right of the sidewalk, this is to the, all right, you're standing looking at the museum, to the right of the sidewalk, to the left of the museum is a monument. Right here, shows on the screen. William Henry Steeves commemoration. The County of Albert. Hillsborough is part of that county. Like I said, it's 2 or 3 times bigger than my estimation. I showed you the picture earlier of, I'm sorry. In this picture, and Cindy has it here, is the flag of the Steeves. I've been 4 times to Hillsborough, and the first time I ever seen the flag. It's purple with a white lettering on it. There she goes. There. And this is the Royal Crest we found in 1989. And if you had a magnifying glass, that writing up there would read Steeves. All right. I want to take you back to registration. It was held in the Legion. I told you earlier about 7 suns, 7 colors, and everything. That's why I have this pink. The local Legion was a registration point. Of course, it had air conditioning and everything else. Walking out of the registration office, we were about the 10th or 12th in line, and when we were walking out, there's 50 in the line afterwards. They just started. We just got there. You give them your name, your email address, and they come up with an envelope with all this in it. Walking out of the registration, the president of the Legion says, "Do you know what sun you came from?" I says, "Yes, John, and I think my color is pink." She says, "You're right. Just a minute." She goes over to a shelf right behind her, and she hands me this color pink. They found all these name tags, color tags, pardon me, in a box in storage since the 1967, 200th anniversary. All right? They're all in storage, and they found all these. Later that day, which would be Friday, later that day, I met a woman, a mother or a woman, anyway, and she had 4 of these colors on her name tag. And I had to ask a question. I said, "Did your family line have to redo with 4 family colors?" She says, "Oh yes, oh yes." And I says, "Then how did that work out?" She says, "It took me 3 or 4 years." She lives somewhere in the central states. I don't know now where it was. It took her 3 or 4 years of sorting this stuff out. I says, how? She says, well, families marry families, inter-family marriages, cousins marry cousins, cousins divorce, cousins remarry and everything. She said, so I'm connected to 4 of the 7 sons. I told her thank you, and I walked away. I walked away, and she was going that way. Thank God, I said, I only had researched one color. My wife said, how'd you say that? Where am I? Anyway, I showed you the things of that. And on here, Cindy's going to find it here in a minute. She thought this was pretty good. I got it out of this book of Wes Bowser. 24th Tuesday instantaneous. 1867, they held the first reunion. I took it out of this book. And Cindy thought this was pretty good. It even told you who the band was. All right? When you read, it's here. You can see it. When I got home, I have the 250th list of programs, what they're doing. I got looking through my records, and here's a copy of the 1967 reunion, and what they did, written by Myrtle Kelly from the town of Wyoming here, and she'd be a second or third cousin of my mother. I don't know really how that works out now. She was there in 1967, and like I said, my wife and I were at the Montreal World Trade Fair. Didn't even know anything about this. My first brush with, I'm sorry, here's the only picture I have of the Steeves flag, new in its existence. It's in black and white, Myrtle Kelly, written on the bottom of it, 1967, black and white. Now we have a color one. Anyway, my first visit with Steeves in 1975, something like that. Yeah, about 1975. My mother, I promised my mother I would go in to Hillsborough and register a name and see how I could get lined up back to the Steeves, because I didn't know anything about it. After I registered with the Steeves, this came to me about 2 months later, and it is typed, handwritten, whatnot. There's about 5 pages. It's there. Anyway, and I wrote on the bottom of it, the original from Hillsborough in 1989, sorry, 1975, they sent it to me. I don't know where I put it. I wasn't even interested in Steve's family history. Anyway, this was mailed to me in 1989, and it lists all the sons, their wives, the birth dates, marriage dates, as much as they had. And it's 5 pages long, and it gets finally down to my mother. And my 2 brothers are on it, and our wives. Going through registration is mailing back all these emails and dialogue boxes. Have you any great-grandchildren? I said, no, I don't. We have this listed for grandchildren. Do you have any great-grandchildren? I said, no, I don't. I looked. It's 14 years since I updated my family history at the Steeves Museum. My youngest grandson was not on that list. I said, 14 years. So, anyway, I want to tell you, after we did this, here comes a parade. We went to registration, we went out the side door of the registration, and I give the curator of the librarian of the museum 45 pages of descendants' names back to Rachel Steeves that I had in my collection. I got flagged down and says, do you need a ride? I said, sure. Here's a lady riding a golf cart, yellow-green t-shirt, has a volunteer written on it, Steeves 250. I says, you're a volunteer. She says, oh yeah. Do you live near Hillsborough? Oh, no. My husband's the Steeves descendant over there. He's parking cars. We come from Vancouver. I said, you're 4,000 miles from home. You come from Vancouver to be a volunteer? Oh yeah. She said, we'll probably be here about 3 weeks. I said, your husband's over there. It's all right. That's how it goes. Anyway, later on they had the opening day parade. As usual, there's the brass band. Cindy will find it here in a minute. No, she won't. No, she won't. Anyway, here's the brass band playing and it says St. John's, New Brunswick on it. The next one is the ladies with the scrub boards and everything else. Next comes the picture. What'd you do with it, Cindy? There it is. There it is. Grand Marshal. I said, hot damn. Hot damn. I took that picture. Pardon my English. I took that picture and standing right beside me is a woman. She says, do you know who she is? I says, I haven't got a clue. I come from the southern end of Ontario, 100 miles past Toronto. She says, that's Ruth Steeves. She's 96 years old today. She lives within 35 miles of Hillsborough. And she's the Grand Marshal of Parade. I'm taken to go to take the picture on the next float. My wife turns around at me and says, what's wrong? I says, I just ran out of film on the camera. She says, don't swear. Anyway, this is the Grand Marshal. She's 96. She's in that car somewhere. And then I ran out of film. The main thing my wife and I went to Hillsborough. Now this gets complicated. To watch the McGuinness World Records, the most descendants I read under one roof at one time to set the record. All right? We failed. Just a minute. 983. When you got there and read the final printout and all that good stuff, you had to prove 2 pieces of paper that your last name was truly Steve. Since my name is Parr, I don't even stand a chance. You had to have 2 pieces of identification. Now they gave each registered Steve some kind of identification. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I've never seen it. All right? I says I'm 1,800 miles from home. We'll stay here and join the party. Now, this is Saturday night in the Moncton Coliseum. All right? These are volunteers, and I got magnifying glasses back there. If you read these black shirts, Steeves, there's green, there's blue, green, all of them. Here's a red one. They all say Steeves on them. No wonder. The only thing I could get green was the 3rd day. I told you, 91 grandchildren. We were so fortunate to sit right beside a woman here. Her husband got up about 2 minutes after we got there and disappeared. Come back. On the table, you'll find a printout of the New Testament. It's very interesting to read. They cover about 5 different types of religions. Anyway, he had to be going counting. I'm standing here, there's probably 3,000 people in the stands. The lady beside me says, you know how this is working? I said, no, I don't. Way over to my right, and my wife didn't get the picture of it in time. 2 men, suits and ties and shirts, scrutineers for the book of records. Right in front of them, 2 volunteers, you can see the green and yellow shirts. They were the counters. If he said, yes, you can go, and you had that certificate or whatever they give them, where you go. Counter will count. He said, yes, count. 91 grandchildren. They took all the names that they could get that was not duplicated, like 10 Phils, 10 Georges, and 10 Marthas and all that. Single names, put them on a sign. First 20 or 30 people came through, you followed that sign into this thing. They kept turning it around. Like I said, here's all the colors. We didn't really know it, but up in the top corner on the stage, Gary Steeves. He's the chairman of the festival, the reunion and all that. His home is in Seattle. The count came out in the paper on Monday. The count was on Saturday night. The paper came out Monday. In his statement to the paper, he kind of gave his address as Seattle. Didn't give you what his occupation is. He made something like 1,200 phone calls calling people to come to that reunion. Can you imagine making 1,200 phone calls on weekends? I think I'd go to nuts. Anyway, that's the chairman up there at the top where you can see the band, and I have a picture and it'll be down there. 983 people that counted. The record is held by the Gallagher clan in Ireland in 2009. 1,480 odd people by the name of Gallagher under one roof at one time with the same name. We were 500 people short. Anyway, that's why we really went to Hillsborough, and Cindy has a closing comment here that she would like you to see. So this is my story of how the Steeves family is. Anyway, I thank Cindy for all her great help and everything, and that's my presentation for the Steeves family.
Questions?
Yes, Colleen.
I am confused. I understand the
All right.
rainbow colors. So when she named those kids, were they named for the color
Of that day.
of that day?
Yeah. So like I say, modern day technology, they change every color you can think of 50 to 100 ways. When those pedigree charts I put on pink, that's the only color pink I could find in the store.
So your line was red in the rainbow.
Actually, it's pink.
Pink in the rainbow. So at that time,
It was pink.
when he was born, the color pink was called something that started with J that matched his name, or
I don't really know that part of it. I just know that she gave each son a distinct color, and that's how the family is sorted out. You know, I told you about the woman sorting out through 4 family names, 4 different colors. Thank God I didn't have to do that. Anyway, thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, if you got any questions, write them down those sheets of paper. Maybe I can answer them down the road a little bit. Anyway, thank you. Oops, sorry.
Well, Ed, thank you very much. I don't know if anybody else has ever gone to a reunion where there's been thousands of people. I certainly haven't. So that was definitely a nice adventure for you, and it sounds like you found lots of folks, and thank you for doing that. We do have a little token appreciation for you as well, so don't let you run away without that. Does anybody have anything else or want to share anything or any tips or anything? Yeah, Ed?
Cindy, I just remembered, on the day of registration, after the parade and all that, my wife is checking out the hamburger stands and whatnot, because she's allergic to milk, all right? Standing right in front of me at the other end of the picnic table is a woman. I says, "You look tired. You've come a long way." She says, "Yes, we have." They left Missouri, drove to Detroit, to Kingston, to Edmundston, which is the first major city in New Brunswick, down to Hillsborough on the 4th day. I says, "Are you a Steeve descendant?" No, she says, "My husband is. I don't know anything about the family." His grandmother was born and raised in Edie's Mills. I said, "Oh, you were on the 401 highway between Chatham and London?" "Oh yeah," she said, "I remember the city's name." halfway between London and Chatham, turn north about 50 miles, and you'll be in right downtown Edie's Mills. And that's how you suddenly get the relation. I didn't get her name or anything. Her cousin came along with the food or whatever, and my wife called me to go over there and pick up my hamburger or whatever ordered. All I know is her grandmother's name was Dawson. I don't know any more about that.
So what year was that the 250th was?
2016.
So you'll just have to go back to the next one.
Oh, yeah. 50 years. Nothing about 125.
And then you'll find them again. You'll hook up with them again. So.
Oh, yeah.
This was a week-long event.
Yes.
Week-long event.
Nice. The whole family went.
No, just my wife and I.
Okay.
But the whole week was.
Oh, yeah.
Event.
That's, if you read the
Yeah.
program festival, they'll give you everything about child painting and all that, all the way down the line.
Yeah, that's a huge reunion and a huge undertaking for sure, a whole week event. But I was pleased when we were going through Ed's information, and he pulled out that one about the 150th
Oh, yeah.
or the 100th, and I was like, you got to put that in the slide presentation. That's awesome that they were doing it back then 150 years ago, and that
Yeah.
little bit of information. So you have a lot of great stuff there to share and
All right.
a nice family history things. So we haven't really seen people since the summertime. I know we got together in September, but did anybody find anything interesting or go on any trips or anything? Val? Here, use the microphone, then you can. You don't have to be on the phone. You can just shout it.
Last week, 2 weeks ago on Sunday, I had been to a conference in Bowmanville on the weekend, and my vice chair was driving, so we did a lot of talking. And she mentions to me that her cousin is stuck on his family tree. And she knew I had an interest, so I said, tell him to send me the name of the person and the dates where he's stuck. Oh, I know the name, she said. I said, well, send it to me when you get home in Tilbury. So she sent it to me on Saturday. Sunday morning, I get up and I sit to the computer. I was there all day. I was so excited. I found 3 UELs, and one of the UELs is also a descendant of the Mayflower. All documented. And they came from New York, and why he was stuck is he was looking in Ontario, and they went New York, Quebec. And he never looked there. But do you know how long it takes people to find UEL? And I don't have any in my family. 3 UELs with documented land records and all, and 1 Mayflower as well. And my husband is a Mayflower descendant through marriage, but my husband is through John Alden, who was the next in command. He was from Miles Standish, who was the captain. Unbelievable. I was so excited. I just gave it to her on Tuesday because we couldn't connect. I'm waiting to hear from him now because he will be apoplectic. But that was very exciting, and it wasn't even mine.
That's great. Anybody else find anything interesting in the last couple months that they'd like to share, or found a tip or something new to research? Nobody? I had a query come into the branch though, and somebody was looking for the girls' residential school in Chatham about 1860, 1870. Would that be the Pines? I haven't answered them back yet, so no.
Try the Mercy Shelter on Park Avenue East.
Oh, yeah.
Mercy Shelter. Okay.
On Park Avenue East. There's 3 big yellow brick apartment buildings built there, right about the end of St. George Street. I would think, I don't know the real name.
Yeah. Mercy Shelter. Well,
That's where it's at. I just wrote the dates down.
he is a descendant of one of there was 3 sisters and they're white sisters, so WHITE and then WHYTE.
Oh, yeah.
So he was wondering, so I guess the 3 sisters were taught there, and then he's a descendant from another sister, so he's sent a query in. I wasn't familiar. I thought maybe the Pines, but that maybe is too late, so
I think it would be.
Yeah.
maybe it was the Pines.
Yours was here about 1860.
Okay, yeah, so it was 1860, 1870s, so, and I found some references in the index. One was Eleanor, so there was something about Eleanor White with the Y. So I thought I'd keep on continuing, but I didn't know offhand which school it might have been, but he definitely said it was a girls' residential school, so.
Yeah, the shelter was for unwed women.
Oh, okay, okay,
Unwed
okay.
I don't really know what the name is, that's all I remember.
Okay, well, I'll, maybe look into the Pines then and see if there was,
They were residential.
okay.
They wanted to.
One of the
Okay.
sisters that, Bella, Angela, it looks after the archives there.
Yes, yeah.
And she's been very helpful.
Yeah, well, this should be fairly easy if there was 3 white sisters, like the sisters were named White, and there's Anne, Eleanor, and I can't remember the other one's name off the top of the head, but he gives me all their names, and he's descended from one of them.
Did
So
you
he
see
was-
where they were from?
No. Possibly, I'd have to go back and look at it again, so yeah, I just thought I'd throw that out there if anybody had any ideas, but, okay, well, if we don't have anything else to chat about, we can have a little bit of social time, and everybody can commence between themselves and have some snacks and a little visit. So thanks for coming, everybody.